thank you. Tonight, we know many of you have questions about the measles outbreak affecting several families across the country. Over the weekend, a case was confirmed in Howard County, Maryland. And it's important to note that this case is not related to the outbreaks in places like Texas and New Mexico. This person had recently traveled internationally. Our Melissa Kim talked with an infectious disease expert just a few hours ago to get some answers to many of your questions about measles. So, Melissa, let's begin with who is most at risk here for measles?
Well, Simone, first and foremost, if you have not been vaccinated, you are indeed the most at risk for measles. The majority of the population in this country has been vaccinated as infants, which is why measles was obsolete for so long. I talked to Dr. Erin Millstone, who is a pediatric infectious diseases specialist at the Johns Hopkins Children's Center, who elaborated on that.
People that are at risk for measles are people that we would consider susceptible or not immune. And that would include children that have not been vaccinated. So any child under 1 that has not gotten the standard 1-year-old vaccine, other children that where parents have chosen not to give their kids vaccines, they would be susceptible. And then other conditions that compromise your immune system.
So, Melissa, we know the majority of Americans have been vaccinated, but is there still a way that you could still get measles?
Well, thankfully, the short answer is no. The vaccine was introduced in the late 1950s, so anyone born before 1957 that presumably had measles already because it was more widespread and there wasn't a vaccine yet. But I did ask Dr. Millstone about present-day immunity.
Measles provides lifelong immunity, so people that have measles infection will not get measles again. The only exception might be someone who has a bone marrow transplant or someone that has an immunocompromising condition that might impact their natural immunity to fight off infection.
As I touched on, we've been seeing those outbreaks in Texas and New Mexico, but should we be worried about an outbreak here because there's one known case now in Howard County?
Well, Dr. Millstone, he did reiterate that this particular case in Maryland did come from overseas, so it wasn't a homegrown virus, so to speak. But he did say if you or your child is unvaccinated and you think you may have been exposed, here's what to do.
Although people are hearing about measles in the news, they should not panic. Most people have been vaccinated. We still have lots of community protection. If your child has an illness right now, it's most likely not measles. But if you're worried, please call before you go to the hospital, ER, or you go to your doctor's office, because we don't want to take the chance that someone with measles walks into a place with vulnerable people and exposes other people who maybe are being treated for cancer who can't protect themselves against measles.
So again, the two most important things that I learned from Dr. Millstone: 1, get vaccinated if you haven't already, and vaccinate your kids. And number 2, if you haven't and think you may have been exposed, call your doctor or the emergency room right away before heading their way. Rather, don't just show up at the door. And this is because he says measles, which is a virus, is highly contagious since it's spread through the air, and we obviously do not want it to spread. Simone.
Oh, and some of those symptoms, if you do have it, can take 7 to 14 days to even exhibit. So very important that if you're worried you have it, you handle it like you mentioned with that phone call. Melissa, thank you.